All right, we're going to continue reading with My America, Meg's Prairie Diary, as far as I can see. May 27, 1846. Father has worked hard. His friend, Dr. Beyer, is moving to Kansas, to a place called Neosho. Father says Dr. Beyer is a vegetarian. He eats vegetables, but no meat. Neosho, Kansas is a place especially for vegetarians. It has a fine climate, so the vegetarians can grow all their own food. Dr. Beyer showed Father a pamphlet. It told of the wonders of Neosho. Dr. Beyer has a ticket to ride on a steamboat, the Kansas Hopeful. Father has bought tickets for Preston and me, too. We will travel to Kansas City with Dr. Beyer to watch over us. Then Dr. Beyer will drive us to Aunt Margaret's house, as it is on the way to Neosho. We leave tomorrow morning. Julia cannot even come to tell me goodbye. Her mother will not let her come into a house where there is sickness. Father and Press have gone to Chapley, Day and Company, the hardware store downtown. They are buying seeds, skillets, nails, cloth, linens, and blankets for us to take to Aunt Margaret and Uncle Robert. Mother wants us to take her baby apple tree seedlings too. Nellie and I have been packing all day. I will take 1 lilac silk dress, 6 pair of stockings, 1 cream silk dress, 2 pair of shoes, 1 rose silk dress, 1 pair of boots, 1 blue linen dress, 1 wool coat, 3 camisoles, 1 pair of gloves, 2 pair of pantalettes, 1 nightdress, 6 petticoats, 1 diary. Bedtime. Dr. Beyer came over tonight. He has a thick mustache and bushy whiskers. He looks just like a great hairy-faced bear. His German accent makes him hard to understand. I do not want to be looked after by a bear. I said good night to Father. I curtsied to Dr. Beyer. As I started up to bed, I heard Dr. Beyer say that Kansas is a dangerous place right now. I stopped on the stairs to listen. I heard Father say, Margaret is the only family we have outside of St. Louis. Besides, nothing is as dangerous as cholera. I wanted to hear more, but Nellie took my hand. She led me upstairs. She said I might go to the door of Mother's sick room to say good night. I stood at the door. Mother was in bed. I tried not to cry. The tears ran down my cheeks. Do not let Preston out of your sight, Mother said. I promised I would not. Be a good help to Aunt Margaret, Mother said. I promised I would. Then Mother said something surprising. Keep your diary, Meg. I want to read about your Kansas adventures when you come home. When you come home. How good those words sounded to me. I pictured it in my mind, Mother and I sitting in the parlor laughing over my time in windy Kansas. I promised to write everything down in my diary. Nellie led me from the door. She put her arms around me. She held me while I cried. I said I could not stand to be so far from home. Nellie said yes, I could. After all, she had come all the way from Ireland across the sea, and she is doing fine. I cried even harder then, thinking of Nellie here and her family so far away. May 28, 1856. I am on a steamboat, a floating palace. I am on the upper deck, looking out over all of St. Louis. Not long ago I wished to be here. Now my wish has come true, but I never wished it to happen this way. Nellie shook me awake before dawn. I dressed quickly. She held a lantern as she rushed Press and me down the walk. Father had the carriage waiting. Nellie put a basket of journey food into my lap. She hugged me hard. Then off we raced to the levee. Even at dawn, the levee was noisy and crowded. Father hurried Press and me aboard, the Kansas Hopeful. He made sure that our trunks and the baby apple trees were stored below deck with the rest of the baggage and with the horses, cows, and chickens that are traveling to Kansas. Then Father found Dr. Bayer and put us in his care. A gong rang. All who were not going had to get off the boat. I hugged Father goodbye. It was so very hard to let him go. I said Mother's words inside of my head. When you come home, when you come home, when you come home. Press and I stood at the rail. We watched Father walk down the plank. I held back my tears as I did not want to upset Press, but he waved and shouted happily to Father. I should know better than to worry about upsetting Preston. The boat engines roared. Great clouds of smoke poured from the smokestacks. The big paddle wheel of the Kansas Hopeful began to turn, and we pulled out into the Mississippi River. The boat rose and fell in the water. It gave me the strangest feeling in my stomach. I waved until I could no longer see Father. I watched the steeples and chimneys until they disappeared. Then all I could see was a cloud of smoke hanging over what I knew to be St. Louis. Goodbye, Father. Get well, Mother and Grace. Later. We had hardly left the dock when Preston dragged Dr. Bayer and me off to explore the boat. We climbed a wide staircase to the Grand Saloon. It has red carpeting and red velvet curtains. It is every bit as fancy as Barnum's City Hotel. We saw several tables where men and women sat playing cards. One player stood out from the others. He was tall. His yellow hair hung down past his shoulders. He wore a black cloak, and his eyes, one was blue and the other brown. Press whispered to me that the man was surely an outlaw and that he was hiding a pistol under his cloak. At the far end of the saloon, waiters began bringing out platters with roasts and sliced meats and potatoes. There were bowls of stew and many kinds of fish. They set them over flames to keep them hot. They also set out coffee, tea, cakes, pastries, nuts, and candies. Press was almost drooling as he watched. We were startled by a clanging gong. People ran into the saloon. It was a stampede. Men pushed and shoved to get a seat. They lunged across the tables to grab the dishes. At last, Dr. Bayer, Press, and I found seats. But by then the food was all gone. The waiters had started to clear the tables. We were lucky we had our basket of journey food. Oh, bless you, Nellie, for tucking in the photographs of Mother, Father, and Grace, and the one of yourself, too, my dear Nellie. After we ate, we found an empty bench out on the deck. We are sitting there now, watching the passengers. Many women pass by with their children. Dr. Bayer says they are going to meet their husbands who have staked claims of land in the West. A woman in a green dress with a hoop skirt strolled by. A young Negro girl tried to hold a matching green parasol over her head, but the girl was not very tall. She couldn't hold the parasol steady. The woman shouted, "Keep the sun off my face, or I shall send you below deck to spend the rest of the trip with the cows." Dr. Bayer shook his head. He said this poor girl was a slave, and slavery was a stain on the heart of humanity. He said it was a terrible shame that Missouri did not pass laws against it. Press said he would rather ride with the cows any day than with that horrid woman. The yellow-haired gambler went by. He carried a big, heavy case. He looked over at us with his different-colored eyes. It gave me the shivers. A straight-backed woman with white hair stopped to chat with us. She is Miss Peach. She introduced us to her 16-year-old niece, Hannah. Hannah Peach has blonde hair and rosy cheeks. The two women have traveled all the way from New York. And just think, they are vegetarians going to Neosho. Dr. Bayer and Miss Peach became instant friends. Dr. Bayer said, "There is nothing as fine as fresh vegetables." Miss Peach said, "Amen to that." Dr. Bayer said, "And breathing good, clean air." Miss Peach said, "Amen to that." I said to myself, I will take the smoky, dirty air of St. Louis any day. And I answered myself, "Amen to that."